Hi, Chef Michael here. A couple of friends of mine asked me to do a recipe for paella. So paella is a very famous Spanish rice dish, and it's actually one of my favorite things to cook and eat as well. Now, there's quite a few common ingredients in paella. Now, in Spain, it can be a rice dish that has rabbits and snails and seafood in it, so it can be very complex or very different depending on what part of Spain you're in. Today, I'm going to make what's known as a mixed style paella, and it's going to be a combination of meat and fish. So these are some of the ingredients that I'm going to be putting in my paella. So we're going to start off with, I have one small white onion that's been diced. I've got 3 large cloves of garlic that have been coarsely chopped. And this is a little smoked paprika, la chinita. This is a sweet style paprika, and it is smoked, so it has a lovely smoky flavor to it. And then I've got 1 chorizo sausage, and what I've done is I've squeezed the sausage meat out of the casing. And then I've got 4 chicken thighs here. I have deboned them, and I have removed the skin, and I have diced them into a small dice. And then I've got half a liter or 500 mils of peas here. These are previously frozen. Use fresh, of course. And then I've got 8 jumbo shrimp here. These are quite large beasts. Let's talk a little bit about the rice. What we have here is a bomba rice. Now, bomba rice is the short grain fat rice that one uses for paella in Spain, and it's very, very important that you have that one. And then what I have here is chicken stock, and inside of the chicken stock, I've put in 2 healthy pinches of saffron. Saffron is a classic, iconic Spanish spice, and that is really where the color and the flavor of the paella comes from. Now, the ratio that we use is 1 part rice to 1.5 parts liquid. So what we have here is my paella pan. This is one that I brought back from Spain. It's cast iron, and it's double-sided, so it's hollow in the center. And traditionally, a paella pan is very flat. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can use a large flat pot for sure, or you could use a wok as well. I've used those in a pinch, and it works quite well. So, because this is a Spanish dish, we're going to start off with some olive oil. And what I'm doing is just kind of covering the bottom of the pan with this. You can smell that oil right away. I've got medium heat. We want to preheat it a little bit, and that's a really good sounding heat. So that's we're going to add the onions, and we're going to start cooking the onions just like this. Now, sometimes I like to put a little diced carrot in here. I don't actually have any carrots today, so one small or medium-sized carrot, peeled and diced, could be added to this. And the beginning, when you're cooking vegetables like this, it's sometimes referred to as the sofrito. And what that does is actually brings a tremendous amount of flavor to the dish. So I'm just going to cook these till they start becoming tender. Okay, so about 5 minutes have passed here, and you can see the onions have shrunk quite a bit. So just a reminder, this was 1 small onion. Then I'm going to add the coarsely chopped garlic like this. I'm a big fan of keeping the garlic a little bit coarser. Nothing tastes worse than when the garlic actually burns. So by keeping it a little bit coarse, it really maintains the flavor a little bit more, and there's no chance of it burning, right? And burnt garlic is a nasty flavor. Then to it, so what I'm looking for is the garlic to be cooked, so it's really fragrant, it's really, really aromatic right now. So what I'm going to do now is I've got about probably a 1/4 teaspoon of the smoked paprika, and we're going to add that, and right away you can smell that lovely, lovely smoky flavor to it. I prefer a little less than more of this. Too much of the smoked paprika can be very, very overbearing and very, very aggressive in flavor, and we don't want that. And then what I've got here is the sausage meat, chorizo. If you like things a little bit spicier, use a spicy chorizo. This is more of a mild style one. Italian sausage would be a great substitute for this. And what I love about this dish is it's a mixture of meat and pork. Meat, pork, and seafood. So we've got obviously a pork-based sausage here, and what you can see is that I'm kind of busting it up a little bit. We want to break it up into nice small little pieces, and we're continuing to cook everything in the pan. Once again, I've still got a nice steady medium heat underneath it. I find by cooking it slowly like this, it just draws and brings out a lot of the different flavors. All right, that's looking good. That's nicely chopped up. And then I've got my chicken thighs here. I prefer chicken thigh. It's got a little bit more flavor. It's a little bit more richer. Doesn't dry out as much as the breast. And I've got 4 chicken thighs here that I've deboned and I've removed the skin. And we're going to add that, and I'm going to give it just a little bit of a saute. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and you can see the chicken's starting to get a little bit of color. What I'm going to do is just add some salt to this now. So I want to kind of season it. What I've got is maybe about half a teaspoon of kosher salt that I just put on there. And this looks great. The chicken's about half cooked. The chorizo sausage is nicely cooked. And then what I'm going to do is I've got half a liter or 500 mils of the bomba rice here. And I'm going to just sprinkle this like this. And then I'm going to stir it in. And what it's going to do is it's going to absorb some of the lovely fat and juices from the cooking process, and it's going to dry things out a little bit. And then I'm going to add my stock. So we're using a we're using a 1 to 1.5 ratio of stock ratio. So I've got 1 part rice, 1.5 parts stock here. So I've got 500 mils of rice, which means I've got 750 mils of chicken stock here. You can use seafood stock or prawn stock if you've got it. I like the chicken, it's a little bit more neutral, and you can see that I'm going to get all the saffron out of there. Now, it's very important to soak the saffron in the stock for at least 10 minutes. And what that does is it kind of activates the saffron a little bit, and you can see what it's done for the stock. It's got this lovely, lovely color to it, and the flavor as well. So for 750 mils of stock, I used maybe a 1/4 teaspoon or 2 generous pinches of the saffron. So you can see what I've done is I've mixed everything evenly in the pan, and you can see the ratio for this is actually really perfect. So what happens is I've turned the heat up to high now because I want to bring this up to a simmer. As soon as it hits, I don't want to boil it hard, but as soon as I reach a nice simmer, I want to maintain the simmer, and then I will add the final ingredients. Okay, so check it out. So we've hit a simmer, which is awesome. So now I'm just going to reduce this down, and what we want is a nice steady simmer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my peas to this now. Now, if they're a little bit frozen, that's okay still. Now, if you're using fresh peas, give them a quick little blanch first, just to soften them. But honestly, I find frozen peas, they're so sweet, they're so easy to use, and if they're still a little partially frozen, that's okay as well. And we're kind of hitting a little bit of surface tension here. Don't be alarmed. That's absolutely perfect. So this paella here, I find for this amount, for this recipe that I've shared, it's good for, maybe 8 to 10 people as an appetizer, or 4 to 6 people for a dinner, depending on what you want. So you can see everything is nicely stirred here. So what we've got is a very even distribution of all the ingredients all mixed together, and I'm just going to kind of flat and everything like that. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna leave that, and it's gonna just go ahead and simmer. So what I'm looking for is that sweet spot. I want that nice, gentle simmer. Now, we've got, just to recap, we've got our onions and garlic cooked in olive oil with a little bit of smoked paprika. And then I've added the chorizo sausage and the chicken meat, and we've kind of sauteed that all together, added the rice and the stock and the saffron, brought it all up to a simmer, and then the peas are in there. And then what you want to do is you want to add your seafood garnish to this now. Now, some people like using whole jumbo prawns with the heads on. Absolutely, 100%. I couldn't find any today, so I've got these large jumbo shrimp, and these are beasts. Lovely, Oceanwise certified, a nice sustainable option, which is very important. And then we're gonna just put these on top, just like so, one in the center. And now, we're not gonna touch it. We're just gonna leave it. It's gonna go ahead and simmer, and the rice is gonna absorb everything, and I'll come back to it when it's cooked. Okay, so about six, maybe 7 minutes have passed now. You can see the rice is starting to absorb and expand. Everything's cooking. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to flip these. Look at that. These look awesome. So let's just flip these over like that. And then we're on the home stretch now. So you can see it definitely a little bit cooler in the center. So we're in the home stretch now. I'm going to take a piece of foil, shiny side, down on top of the paella, and we're just going to keep it over top like this. And we're just going to finish cooking. It's probably going to be another 5-6 minutes. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Oh, this is looking good. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about something known as the socarrat. And the socarrat is what the Spanish refer to. It means lightly toasted. That's when the bottom of the paella gets lightly toasted. Now, don't confuse it with being burnt. All right, so if we look in the center here, come take a look in the center. You can see it's nice and dry. So that's what we're looking for. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it again, and I'm going to turn up the heat. And we're going to turn up the heat for probably 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And what that's doing is really drying it up. But it's very important that the rice has absorbed all the liquid before you do that, because that socarrat is that crispy little layer that you find in the bottom of the paella dish. And that is a very, very important part of paella. Don't confuse it with burnt. We don't actually want to burn it. We want to lightly toast the bottom. And you can kind of hear how it's changing. You can kind of see the moisture coming off of it. So it's probably been close to about 30 seconds now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the heat. And we're going to turn off the heat, and we're going to let this sit, and we're going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. Now is a perfect opportunity to enjoy an aperitif or a nice glass of wine before you enjoy your paella. All right, so, oh, look at this. This is rested nicely. Let's go in and take a look. So we're gonna take off some of this like this. You can see the rice is nicely cooked. And then look down at the bottom. That's textbook. That's exactly what we're looking for. And this, folks, is gonna be dinner. So if you excuse me, I am going to enjoy my supper. I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll see you soon.